All right, Pectus Nation, what's going on? Alex Vivanco here, and in today's video, it's an important one and perhaps the most important video I will ever make. I touched upon this subject 2 videos earlier, but again, I was inspired to make this again because I realized how dangerous it can be for men who are broken inside and hurting inside to begin with, and then to go into a breakup and lose the love of their life, and then move on to commit even worse acts like suicide, murder, abuse, and just freaking live sadly. And yesterday, while I was driving Lyft, I was driving a passenger home. Just some random guy. He was talking about how he's living in an apartment for $400, a whole house for $400, because the owner of the house is a lady whose husband hung himself in the basement after she served them divorce papers. And I realized how big of a problem it is that there's so many men out there that are just hurting and aren't able to take the pain that comes with, separation, breakups, divorce. And I'm here to say that feeling, that those weaknesses begin way before he ever gets together with a girl or gets married. It happens way before in life. And so whether you're married or going through a breakup yourself, or you have this experience, or you're 25 years old or 35 years old or you're 13 years old, this video can pertain to you and can teach you some valuable lessons, so hopefully you won't have to go through those experiences and you'll be a lot stronger. And so, like I mentioned 2 videos earlier, when we go through a breakup, now there's 2 types of men, okay? I'm talking about a certain kind of men. Not all men go through breakup and go through this mental internal breakdown. Not all of them do. Okay, some of them just fucking move on. Yeah, it's what's up. And that's a good thing as well. That's actually where you want to be. I'm not saying you want to be. Actually, screw that. You can be affected by a breakup without a doubt, but there's just a group of guys that you see end up in the news that end up committing these horrific acts to themselves or to the person they broke up with, and end up regretting it after a breakup or so. And that's the group of guys that I'm talking to. And the reason why is because I too can relate to those feelings. When I broke up with my girl last year, my wife, we got separated. There were plenty of times where I was extremely hurt and weak and emotional, and I felt like I just wasn't able to move on. Not only because of my addiction to the love of my wife and her sex, but also because of my family. I had 2 kids with her, and it was more than just that, man. It goes deeper. But I have to say, a lot of the feelings that I was having on the inside, these feelings of wanting to end it myself so that I wouldn't have to go through this pain, or that life couldn't be any better not being a part of this family or with my wife. A lot of that starts off, especially with missing my partner, missing your partner, those feelings that lead a man. So for example, for me, there was times where, I would get so enraged and angry that I wasn't with her and that she was possibly with someone else, that I would want to get physical and go to the house and break down that door and be in the apartment and be in the house. There were plenty of moments that I wanted to do that. Again, admitting this for me is tough, but I'm doing this so that hopefully you guys can relate or get a better perspective, because I truly care. It's a problem that I had, and I'm gonna do my best to be a part of the solution. And so whenever I would get angry and upset, there were plenty of times where I wanted to unleash physically, like this anger inside of me during this breakup, this anger of hurt. And I'm gonna tell you where this feeling comes from the most in just a second. But thankfully, and this is perhaps my greatest blessing, my greatest reward, the thing I'm happiest about the most during my breakup after a 10-year relationship. The thing I'm most proud of is that I never followed those feelings of wanting to unleash physically or, never went to the house in an angry mood, or, I was always able to control myself. There were times where, it would be like a Friday night and I'd feel extremely lonely. And I know that my partner would probably be going out and, partying and doing this and that, which is probably true. And there were moments where I would feel extremely jealous of the guy that she may or may not be with. And there were feelings inside of me that wanted to follow her and freaking, stalk and find this guy and kick his freaking ass. And, but I'm glad I didn't. I'm really glad I didn't, because doing so would have been the wrong move. In my opinion, it would have been the weakest move, would have landed me in jail. I would have freaking lost more of any opportunity that I may have or may not have had to get my family back. It was just the ultimate weakness, in my opinion. I think it is the ultimate weakness to unleash like that. And you can make a really bad decision, man. You can end up killing somebody, with a simple punch. They fall down, their head hits the curb, boom, they're dead. You're in jail for the rest of your life. Scene just gets much worse. Now your kids don't have their father. Now, now their father's in jail, or even worse, or maybe their father's dead. And so you don't ever want to act out in anger, is the point. And so now I want to get to these feelings. So what it basically is that I realized was that these feelings that I had inside of me during my angriest moments or most hurt moments was feelings of insecurity. Basically, in my mind, I was thinking, damn it, besides my kids and the family, I'm thinking about my partner, my wife not wanting to be with me. The feelings the thoughts that were in my head were, damn, I'm not good enough for her anymore. Or she's out there being with someone better than me in whatever way you can freaking imagine. And that's the main feeling that sucks, that hurts. Those feelings of insecurity. Now, here's why it's not your partner's fault. As much as they may hurt, and as much as you may want to blame the partner, and as much as you may want to act out in your anger to make things right, the situation is already right. The truth is, yeah, you may not be good enough for her, so to speak. On the outside, that's what you've been given out. Somehow, some way, you became someone that mentally and internally feels like you aren't good enough. It is an inner core belief. You attracted what happened. You attracted that relationship breaking up, believe it or not. Another feeling of hurt when you're broken up is a feeling of unworthiness. Maybe you feel like you weren't worthy enough to be with her, or maybe she feels like you aren't worthy enough to be with her. And again, that may be true according to what you put out into the universe, into the world, into the relationship, from how you feel on the inside. And that, my friends, is the problem. The problem isn't the other person. The problem isn't, the solution isn't trying to change the other person. It isn't trying to change your wife or your girlfriend that you broke up with. They are simply a reflection. They are the message of who you are. They're a reflection, their actions are a reflection of how you think about yourself on the inside. See, during my relationship, I'll have to admit, there were plenty of times where I didn't feel good enough. And it really doesn't start off with the relationship. It started off way before, as a kid. And that's one of the things that happens when you're born with pectus excavatum. That's just one example. Somehow, as I was a kid, I grew up with this mentality of, you're not good enough. There's something wrong with you. You're unworthy. And so when you, by chance, end up falling into a relationship that makes you feel good enough and makes you feel worthy, it'll last for some time. But eventually, the feelings of the past that are programmed inside of your mind, if you haven't changed those feelings, they will manifest and come to life. And eventually, that relationship will reveal how each person feels about themselves on the inside. And so when I broke up, when you break up and you feel like she's moved on to someone better, then you feel insecure because you feel like you're not good enough or you're not worth her anymore, then that is true to how you feel about yourself. If you had different beliefs, if you had the beliefs that you were good enough, that you were worthy, then you would act that way. And those acts would cause your partner to leave you much, much less. So in a relationship, it rarely has to do with the physical. For the most part, it's the mental and the attitude of how you feel about yourself. If you feel like you're not good enough, you're not worthy, it ain't gonna last. But if you revert yourself to the truth, because all that mental programming in the past that you're not good enough is bullshit. You are good enough. You are a creation of the almighty you. You were sent here for a reason. You have unique and special gifts and talents that are so powerful and attractive. When you tap into those things, people will just come to you. You wouldn't ever feel like you're not good enough. You're extremely more than good enough. And so the solution is, after you go through a breakup, I know it hurts and it sucks, without a doubt. I can relate. And I know there's times where you get angry and you want to unleash hell, but that's not your partner's fault. That's no one's fault. And to a point, that's not your fault either. Because when you were younger, you didn't have a lot of control over what was going into your mind, whether you had a mentor or a dad or someone telling you you're special, you're good enough, you're amazing, you're beautiful, you're this and that. For whatever reason, when you were a kid, perhaps your mental programming was that maybe you were fat, maybe you were short, maybe something happened that made you really insecure, and that stuck with you throughout your adulthood. And it came into your relationship. Maybe you got into a relationship by masking it for a bit, which many people have masks on, but eventually how we feel deep down inside manifests. And the other person senses it, and whether it's good or bad, they get attracted to it or unattracted to it. And that's what leads to a relationship or a breakup. So when I say part of it is not your fault because of you being young and not having much control over your mental programming, it is your fault, however, if you don't do something about it. So in closing, I know it hurts. I know it sucks. I know it sucks to feel like you're not good enough and that she's moving on to someone better. That hurts, man, I know. But it's time to take responsibility for your actions or inactions in that relationship. For whatever reason, maybe you didn't have a good enough job, you weren't making money. I know for me, I wasn't making money. I was a stay-at-home dad struggling as an entrepreneur. My confidence was shot. Like, I would talk a big game, but deep down inside, I was so insecure and low in confidence and just like, and you can't attract somebody like that. You can't keep someone around with those feelings. And so what you have to do is, as much as it hurts, is you gotta let that person go. You have to thank that person because they leaving you is truly perhaps one of the greatest gifts, because they're telling you exactly what your weaknesses are and where you're weak. Through your anger, through your hurt, it can reveal to you what it is that you need to work on. And for the most part, it's the insecurities, it's the feelings of not being good enough or unworthy. So you let her go, you take that freaking pain, but you take the lessons as well, what she's trying to teach you, what the breakup is teaching you. And then you change. You're not good enough, you start changing your mental programming. You're more than good enough. You're not worthy, you're more than worthy. You start repeating affirmations in your head. You start reprogramming your mind to the truth, okay? You start finding your true self, not the old self of the self that didn't think he was good enough or was low in confidence or isn't able to do this. Man, you start finding your real confidence. You start erasing all that false belief bullshit, right? And you start reprogramming yourself to the truth. You start thinking about who it is that you can truly be if you gave it your all, right? And you start living like that motherfucker, okay? Stop living like this guy or this guy. Start living like the motherfucker that you can be. When you do that, you're gonna start to awaken. You're going to start to believe, holy shit, I am good enough. I am worthy. I am that I am. And when you do that, my friends, man, your energy is gonna go up. And you're going to get back into attracting relationships. You're going to get back to attracting people. You're going to get back to attracting money. Your value is measured in your energy. Your value is going to start to increase. But it has nothing to do with the external circumstances. The external circumstances come because of how you feel about yourself. If you're low energy, you don't feel like you're good enough, you feel like you don't have confidence, whatever it is, you're low, you're gonna detract things. Things are gonna get away from you. We live in an energy-based world. People, things are attracted to energy. So you have to find a way to get your energy up, your value up. And it all begins with mindset. What do you think about yourself? Maybe you're a kid in high school and you're having trouble with making friends and you're alone and you're thinking nobody wants to be my friend or this and that. That's not the other person's fault. Somehow you have to take responsibility for yourself and you have to say, how do I feel about myself? Do I fully love myself yet? Do I believe I'm good enough? Do I believe I am worthy? Do I love myself so much? And when you do that, people will see that. People will do more than see that. They'll feel that. And so folks, when you find that energy, when you find that new mentality, you're going to find the greatest gift, and which is what this whole video leads down to. The solution is finding yourself and finding your purpose. Your purpose is your greatest work that you can give to the world to help and impact the world for the better. And to find your greatest work, you first have to find your greatest you. Find that you are great, that you are worthy, and that you are good enough. When you do that, that dopamine fix that you're missing with your girl from her sex or from being with her, right? We get this increase in dopamine in us that when we lose it, we go crazy without the fix. But the trick is not to find the dopamine in other things like food, sex, relationships, alcohol, drugs. It's to find the dopamine for yourself, by yourself, complete yourself. And dopamine is just another word for pleasure, happiness. Find that true happiness and pleasure when you find all of you, when you find your purpose, your greatest self. Do that and you're going to be okay. You're going to be better than okay. Because think about it like this. If you were one of those guys, one of those potential monsters that would get angry after a breakup, that would have this control, want to have this control over another person, it's fucking ugly and weak. But just think about it like this. That's pretty low as a person, right? To want to end yourself, it's pretty low. But here's the best part about that. The lower you go, once you figure it all out, the higher you'll rise. So hang in there, man. Hang in there. I know it hurts. I know it sucks. But just hang in there. Start rewiring your brain. It may take some time. But again, change can happen in an instant. So change right now. Become the person you're capable of being.